Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Howdy, y'all. This is red.olaughlin. We're on Talking Heads on the USA Global TV and Radio Network. We're also on Roku, E360 TV, Amazon Fire, Android TV, Zizzle, a lot of places. And we're also available all the time in archives on YouTube, live on YouTube and on the archives on YouTube. 2 different channels on YouTube. Anyway, let's go ahead and get started with the slide program today and get that loaded up here very quickly. Okay, and I need a bigger slide. That is not the normal presentation, but okay, there we go. That looks much better. Okay, as a disclaimer, I'm a researcher. Never been in the medical field, never been in the pharmaceutical field. My first love was chemistry, high school, and I got a degree in it, got an invitation to Vietnam, never got a chance to practice much of it, do much with it until my wife came down with cancer several years ago, and I had a chance to start doing some research, and I fell in love with it again. I got a few more academic degrees, a bunch of professional certifications, a lot of different things that I do, but one of the things I really enjoy doing is using my chemistry to evaluate, to assess, to research what's going on in the human body at the cellular level. Chemically speaking, I look for cause and effect relationships. Treat a cause, fix a problem. Treat symptoms, and you'll always be treating symptoms. The biggest problem with treating symptoms is that the cause is still going on, and it may get worse and you'll never know about it. Symptoms may get worse, but not every time you have that ability to know. So some serious damage could be occurring and you're just never aware of it. And as always, all my presentations are for awareness and education. So that being said, let's bump over here. Most of the information I bring forward in the talks here on the heart of health comes from my book called Longevity Secrets for Healthy Aging. Whoops, back up a little bit. How to live. Why is this thing not cooperating? No big deal. How to live to 100 years of age with the body of a 50-year-old and mind of a 25-year-old. So anyway, a lot of stuff in there. Last week is where, okay, likes to bounce back today. Last week we ended up with peripheral artery disease, and we talked about the causes: atherosclerosis, smoking, diabetes, hypertension, etc. But one of the things for mine, I've had a annual physical every year since 1968. I had 31 flight physicals with the military every year. Uh, then when I got out of the military in 99, I've kept my annual physicals going. So for another 25 years. But one of the things that I learned in the military, and I learned it from a PA actually, I'm there on the table and he grabs a hold of my ankle and he looks at his watch. And I'm saying, okay, he's doing what he's doing. What are you doing? And he says he's taking my pulse from my ankle. And I said, well, that's interesting. And I said, why? And he told me. And so if I'm sitting around, I'll go ahead and, okay, take my pulse myself. And I did that literally for decades, through the 80s, 90s, the 00s, the 10s. And then all of a sudden, somewhere in the middle, all toward the end of COVID, I reached down there. I'm sitting there watching TV, commercial on who knows what, and can't feel my artery, can't feel my pulse. And I should, because it's part of my artery system. I should be able to feel a pulse. Well, another month or so, I'm supposed to have my annual physical with my GP. And I mentioned this to him. He says, you probably need to see a specialist. So he sent me to one and they did a bunch of stuff. And now I'm on a 6-month review where they go in and they really do a lot of in-depth analysis. So what happened? Agent Orange. I got some issues with my heart from flying over in Vietnam. Well, it turns out that some of those other things, who knows what I also did in addition with getting older and other things. Is there some hypertension? Yes. Is there some cholesterol? Probably not much of a factor. Diabetes? No. Smoking? Never. But there are things there that can contribute to peripheral artery disease. But I put it most up to Agent Orange. Regardless, let's go ahead and get on with today's show. A couple, 3 weeks ago, I said, what are the things that really concern us? Well, we've talked about heart disease. We have hypertension and a few other things there today. We're going to talk about, not all of them, but a lot of things affect our heart. And we're going to just jump into the first one, which is cholesterol. I've been interesting candidate all my life because for the vast majority of my life, my cholesterol has been very, very, very low. And I mean by low, my total cholesterol, the low and the high generally is between 104 and 114. That's the standard it's been since I was a teenager. It seems like the first time I ever had a physical for the military. Boom. It's every year I check it. And I got concerned after a while and I would ask the doctors, how low is too low? And I never got an answer. And I probably a couple of decades later, okay, if it's down in the 90s, there's a concern. And why is that? Because your body makes cholesterol from your liver, but you also eat cholesterol from the food you choose to eat. So if I'm eating a lot of cholesterol, my body should make less. If I'm not eating a lot of cholesterol-laden products, my body should make more. And so as you get older, you start seeing a little trade-off. My total cholesterol, I think I was at emergency room a couple, 3 months back, and my total cholesterol was 114. Well, that's, again, one of the normal ranges I used to have. Now my normal range is about 160. But regardless, cholesterol can be a problem. If you have too much, it can be a problem. If it's oxidized, we'll talk a little bit about that. But we produce it in our liver, and it's needed literally in almost every cell in our body. It's needed to make adrenal and sex hormones. It's critical for digestion. It's needed to make vitamin D3 in our bodies from sunlight. And the things we hear most about are the LDL, low density lipoproteins, and the HDL, the high density. There are a lot of other ones in there too, but those are the two we hear the most. And so you hear, oh, you have over 250 on your cholesterol. Well, is that good or bad? Well, it's not what the number is, it's the ratio of the high and the low. And so all of a sudden, a doctor says, oh, your cholesterol is 214, that's too high. Well, what's the ratio? Well, the ratio is fine. It's not the number, it's the ratio of the two. So I would have 110 as a total, but my HDL would be 40, so I'd be 40 over 70. I would be well in that range that I need to be in. So, but sometimes I can get too much cholesterol and it can form a plaque. I can end up with clots. I can end up with atherosclerosis. A lot of issues there. So I have natural cholesterol that I'm producing, and it can be caught up within my white blood cells and the walls of my arteries and blood vessels. And over time, it can create some inflammatory issues. Oxidized cholesterol is free radicals, just like free radicals hit almost any molecule in your body and cause inflammation. Well, the free radicals will actually oxidize your cholesterol. And now we start having a problem with plaque. Plaque in our heart can come from cholesterol, oxidized, unoxidized, but also from calcium. So that plaque becomes a major issue. It makes the blood vessels less flexible, and so you end up with higher blood pressure, a lot of other things. So when you start reducing the rate of flexibility of your blood vessels, now the heart has to compensate. Well, a lot of times doctors want to give you statin drugs, but the statin drug shuts down the production of CoQ10 in our body. Again, a molecule that's needed in every cell in our body, yet we're taking a drug to shut it down. Why? Because they can. But the statin drug also has an effect on vitamin D3 and vitamin K2. We'll talk a little bit about that here. In fact, let's talk about it now. A lot of times you can remove calcium, the plaque calcium, from your heart valves and arteries with vitamin K2. Now, this is something, just don't go out and buy it. Talk to your doctor first before you attempt it. There may be other things that you have that this doesn't make sense. But yes, it can be done, and several studies have shown you can reduce half of the calcium plaque in about 12 weeks. Japanese use this a lot for other things too. So vitamin K2 treatments are something that's viable, but don't just go do it. Talk to your doctor first, because it can be a problem. But the cholesterol in and of itself, I think it's a mixed bag. You can eat healthy, do the lifestyle things you need to do. But if you start ending up with some very high cholesterol numbers and the ratios are not right, you really need to sit down and have a long talk with your physician, because that can become a problem. Okay, what's another problem? Hypertension, high blood pressure. Lots of issues are caused by high blood pressure. It's like a headache. What causes a headache? So many things. What causes high blood pressure? Way too many things. It's amazing what can elevate your blood pressure. So, and when you have that elevated blood pressure, all of a sudden now you can have functional issues with the heart. You can have structural issues with the heart, and the heart has to work harder than normal. And it's interesting that we've talked how many months now over the last couple, 3 years, lifestyle choices are really and truly the definitive part of having great health late in life. So our lifestyle choices affect our blood pressure. So I can be obese, diabetic, have thyroid issues, growing older, my ethnicity, my sex, my gender, smoking, sleep apnea, some kinds of medications, oral contraceptives. A lot of them out there have problems. Tumors, kidney disease, stress, dehydration. Lots of issues can affect your blood pressure, and not something you want to live with. Now, one of the things that I was able to do back in the military is, if I had my maximum flying weight, 184 pounds. If I got above 184 pounds, they put me on a fat body program. I had to lose weight before I could fly again. Well, a week or two before my flight physical, I would go out and run 5 miles a day. I would lose some weight, boom, pass everything, no problems, not even close. But as you get older, those things don't happen as easy. And so right now I have some issues that I can't go out and exercise. It makes it a little bit more difficult to lose weight because of age and other issues. Well, I went through a series here since the first week of June through the end of July with a double hit of shingles. One of the worst things I've ever had in my life. Couldn't find anything to relieve the pain literally for 2 months. Doctors finally put me on a drug called Lyrica, first part of August. Boom, worked great. I got more than 2 hours sleep at a time. Pain went 90% away. But the shingles, when you're taking Lyrica for it, it's a good medicine, but it causes my blood pressure to spike. So instead of being 120/80 with medicine, it's now 230/150 or higher. Crazy numbers. And I can't live like that. So I got myself off the Lyrica, and I'm still having some high blood pressures, but nothing like I used to have. But now I have what they call post-herpetic neuropathy, which is the same pain as shingles without the rashes. And so I still have a little bit, but when I started doing some research on Lyrica, does it have a blood pressure? Well, I could find some issues where, yeah, it might, yeah, it does. I don't know. So I talked to my pharmacist. Absolutely, guy said. And so all of a sudden, I talked to my cardiologist. I'm taking myself off the Lyrica, and I did. About 2 weeks later, I was fine. But a lot of prescription drugs can cause hypertension. So you got high blood pressure, something's not working. Talk to your pharmacist. They're really experts, and they're there to help you. Another issue with your heart health: triglycerides. It's a fat. In a perfectly natural, normal world, if everything was working well, I would wake up in the morning, my fat that I was burning for energy would be just about down to nothing. I would have breakfast. I would increase my insulin levels. They would push the blood sugar back into my cells, muscles, wherever it needs to go. I would go all day long, do whatever I need to do, get some more food, go to bed. And by the time I wake up the next morning, all of my fat stores are used up. Boom, I'm ready for the next day. But that's not what we do. We eat too much. We eat the wrong things. And as I'm eating these things, I have a lot of insulin there. Sometimes I might have some insulin resistance. But I choose foods that may have sugar in it, may have alcohol in it, a lot of things that I use for energy, but that food that the insulin takes and converts to energy for storage, for usage, can become excess. And the triglycerides are those excess fat cells that are floating throughout the bloodstream that now get stored in their own individual little fat cells because we didn't burn off enough fat overnight. And now I wake up the next morning and I have an extra few hundred fat cells that I don't need, and the body stores them. The body loves to store fat. So, and one of the problems with some of these things is that they don't stick to the artery walls, but they increase the inflammatory effect and some other issues. So it's not a good thing to want to cultivate. Triglycerides can also get you into a pre-diabetic condition. A lot of people with type 2 diabetes have a triglycerol issue that's common. It turns out that actually alcohol is a major contributor. You think sugar is one, but alcohol is one also. I didn't understand that until I went in for a physical, and generally speaking, I get all my blood tests and everything is literally, I rarely have anything out of the normal range. And I went in there one time and my triglycerides were high. Okay, well, it wasn't the food, it wasn't this. Okay, I had a couple glasses of wine. Well, as I learned later on in life, alcohol is a contributor to triglycerides. So dietary choices. I chose to drink wine. My triglycerides go up, something that I did not know, but now I know, and I try to compensate. Anyway, there are a lot of home tests out there. There's a lot of testing labs. You want to know what your cholesterol is. You want to know what your triglycerides are. You want to know what your other blood factors are. We're going to be talking about homocysteine here in a moment. We're not talking about CRP, C-reactive protein, but it's one of those ones I'll mention when we're talking about the homocysteine. So speaking of homocysteine is an amino acid, and it's created when we have a vitamin deficiency. And generally speaking, vitamin deficiencies are pretty easy to address. Well, it turns out that my B1, B2, B6, B12, the B vitamins, if I'm deficient in them, my body creates homocysteine. And when that homocysteine is created, it's easy to test. It's a blood test. And it creates problems on the artery wall. It could create damage, creates a risk of increased blood clots. A lot of issues with homocysteine. I mentioned CRP a moment ago. Two of the tests that I order, actually three, but two of the tests that I order extra above and beyond what my doctor does every year on the physical, one is homocysteine. I want to make sure that my heart is looking pretty healthy. And a homocysteine level test, blood test, is a good way of getting a thumbs up, thumbs down, or whatever on your heart health. Another one is C-reactive protein. When you have inflammation in the body, it creates another protein. In this particular case, it's called C-reactive protein, and it's easy to measure with a blood test. And if it's next to nothing, your body's pretty healthy, very little inflammation going on. if it's 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, a lot of problems can occur because you have a lot of inflammation that could cause a lot of oxidative stress and other issues down the road. So, but when homocysteine used to be what for years, for decades, was considered the gold standard for heart health. And then I'm going to say 6, 8, 10 years ago, a little before, a few years before COVID, all of a sudden they came out and they says, if I measure my omega-6 to omega-3, the ratio of that, I can actually get a better standard for heart health than just homocysteine by itself, because homocysteine is a deficiency in vitamins. But the ratio of the omega-6s to omega-3s, I need both of them. They're essential fatty acids. I don't make them in my body, so I have to eat them. So my omega-3s from fish and whatever, omega-6s from vegetable oil. In an ideal world, the ratio of omega-6 to omega-3 would be anywhere between 1:1 and 4:1. Anything over 4:1 omega-6 to omega-3 is considered inflammatory. And when you start looking at the standard American diet, you start looking at very little omega-3s, a lot of omega-6s. Now all of a sudden, instead of 10, 20, 30, maybe it's 40, 50, 60. And that's a very highly inflammatory body. And so that gold standard really works out well. It's not something you find all the time. The homocysteine is still cheaper to do. But it's one of those things, if you're starting to have some issues, you might want to talk to your doctor about it. Is that something that he can arrange? Does he even think it's worthwhile? Does he even know about it? So anyway, from that perspective. But from a homocysteine perspective, B vitamins are going to take care of the deficiency. But I've been looking at, can I fight off the homocysteine with omega-3 also? In other words, let's start increasing my omega-3s to make my ratio right. And what does that do? Well, I know that my homocysteine will increase as I get older. My sex has a factor in it. Dementia, genetics, alcohol, smoking, a lot of things affect my homocysteine levels. And a lot of those are lifestyle choices. You could argue genetics isn't a lifestyle choice. That's something you inherit from your parents. Well, epigenetically, you can turn that switch on or off with regard to that particular gene. And so lifestyle choices are one of those light switch turn it ons when you need it turned on for a gene or turned off for a gene. So yes, lifestyle does affect genetics to a degree. So I think that increasing the omega-3 definitely has an effect because it's going to be a co-partner in that heart health issue. But I haven't seen anything really definitive that one can replace the other. You can't have a deficiency in one and expect good health. So from that perspective, I think that there's some things there. Something that most of us have never heard of, just like homocysteine. Most have never heard of advanced glycation end products, AGEs. And when you have proteins or fats and they become glycated after exposure to sugar, in other words, basically that protein or that fat reaches out, grabs a hold, and actually that sugar molecule becomes part of the protein or fat molecule. Now I have an AGE, and they can form inside the cells, they can form outside the cells, they can be found all over the body, they can be ingested with food. We do it all the time. You have a nice piece of fried chicken, French fries, you better believe it, right then and there. Those two things are major contributors to AGEs. But AGEs are also a biomarker. And when you look at how many AGEs you have, and it turns out they're irreversible. Once they're in your body, they're almost impossible to get rid of. I would say impossible. I've seen a couple of articles that says, yeah, you can do this. But we can moderate how much our bodies are actually taking in by by lifestyle choices, diet, etc. But if I have a high number of AGEs, my risk of diabetes goes up, atherosclerosis goes up, kidney disease, dementia, primarily Alzheimer's, heart disease, and there's so many of those, liver disease, arthritis, hypertension. Again, something we wouldn't even think about because we don't know about it, and it's creating all sorts of problems in our body. So I can have cake, anything that we bake, anything that I actually apply heat to, anything that has a lot of sugar in it. Those are things that are going to increase the AGEs in our body because we're adding that sugar molecule to our body that can then be glycated to fats and proteins. Processed packaged meats, fried foods, eggs, dairy, all sorts of things out there. You look it up, there's a long list. You always say, what can I eat? Well, with everything else, it's not what we eat in many, many cases, is how much we eat. And so when I start looking at what I'm eating, I also have to look at how am I cooking things. So if I put something on barbecue on the grill and I get a nice char on it and it tastes so good because I got that black mark, well, that is an AGE. I can actually see that AGE. It's that black barbecue mark or something on the skillet that I'm actually frying, and I get a little bit of that browning. Those are all things that add to my AGEs in my body. Antioxidants, berries, green tea, dark chocolate, all work well to help us at least control the total number that's in there. AGEs, advanced glycolytic end product, increase our vascular stiffness. In other words, they're not allowing our bodies to fluctuate, our vessels to fluctuate with the blood pressure. We see it a lot as we age. We start seeing elasticity in the skin go away. We just don't have what we used to have. One of the things I came up with was honey is a real plus for people who are diabetic and want to cut back on AGEs and have to kind of limit their sugar. So that might be something to talk about. If you're diabetic and you have a concern about AGEs, talk to your doctor. Maybe honey might be an issue. With that, again, my Longevity Secrets for Healthy Aging is a book that I'm using for this particular series. So red.olaughlin.com is my website, and I look forward, hopefully next week will be the last session on the heart of health. With that, I bid you adieu, and we will catch you later. Bye now.
USA Global TV and Radio proudly presents our partner and sponsor, Mr. Philip Sykes and the British School of Excellence. Building confidence, changing lives. And now, proudly presenting the Polished Professional.
On a transformative journey with the British School of Excellence's comprehensive suite of masterclasses, crafted to elevate your professional and personal life. 8 outstanding modules will elevate you to the next level. Module 1, Exploring Life's Purpose, delves into the depths of self-discovery, guiding you to chart your unique path to fulfillment and success. Module 2, Mastering Professional Presence and Confidence. This masterclass is a deep dive into the art of self-assurance and commanding presence, which is essential for standing out in today's competitive landscape. Module 3, Learn the secrets of visual impact, how to curate a personal style that amplifies your professional brand. Module 4, Mastering Professional Etiquette and Communication Excellence, navigating the nuances of corporate interaction with grace and tact. Module 5, Elegance in Eloquence. We impart powerful techniques to captivate and persuade any audience with your oratory skills. Module 6, Unlock the potential of your emotional intelligence, EQ, and harness the ability to connect, empathize, and lead with emotional savvy. Module 7, Mastering DISC, building a gateway to understanding behavioral styles, fostering better personal and professional relationships. Module 8, Mastery in Dining Etiquette, building your confidence to perfect the subtleties of dining with finesse, enhancing your social savviness at any table. Step into the Polished Professional program where poise, elegance, and excellence aren't just taught, they're instilled for life. Join us to redefine your potential and polish your professional edge.
To learn more, go to thebritishschoolofexcellence.com. The British School of Excellence are investors in people. Let us invest in you.